Welcome back to another weekly GMBN Tech Show. Coming up on this week's show, we check out some more really cool shots of that nuke-proof descent downhill bike. We also look at that Microshift Advent 9-speed setup, budget, like wallet-friendly setup, really cool. We've got a pretty special bike cave for Nicholas Vulio, 10 times world champion, and we got a really cool top mod from an amazing viewer. So first up was into news, and Time have got a new clipless trail pedal out. So this is the Special 8. Now this is it on screen. It's inspired by their Special 12, which was quite a high-end pedal, and it's got a few very cool features. So it's got 4 adjustable spikes on there. It's actually smaller than the 12 as well, so it is also lighter. It has their multi-adjustable clamping system, and of course it's the ATAC retention system, which Time has had since the beginning of time. So they weigh in at about 196 grams a pair, and they're available in black and the really cool special orange, which I'm actually a really big fan of that, because it kind of reminds me, it's not too dissimilar to that copper colour stem I've got on my nuke-proof. I'm starting to really like those sort of autumnal tones on a bike. I think it looks great. But the ATAC system itself is what really stands out to me on these pedals. Now, I did say at the time I've had this for a very long time, and the thing that's really cool about it is the cleats themselves do not adjust side to side on the shoe, as you would see with Crank Brothers cleats and with Shimano cleats. On the Time offering, the cleat just mounts on the shoe. You can still go fore and aft in those cleat slots on the recess on the sole of the shoe, but the whole engagement system allows the shoe to move. And the thing that's really cool about that is the fact that your shoe or your cleat mechanism is free to move side to side on the pedal independently of the disengagement feature on the pedal. So that's really good if you've got maybe you've had an injured ankle, or if you have knee issues. And I know some friends that will not use anything else except Time pedals. So if that sounds like you, they're definitely worth a look. And for the record, I think they look really good too. Twilly Designs has just released their 2019 range, and of course, being Twilly Designs is very cool. There's the A2 helmet. They still have some A1 helmets in the range there, but the one I want to show you here is the Stage. Now, this is their enduro focus helmet. So it's a full face helmet. It's got loads of ventilation, but this is not a downhill helmet. It's not certified for downhill use. This is specifically designed for enduro riding and racing. It's a very lightweight helmet. It's got an extreme amount of ventilation for such a huge amount of head coverage. And the whole point is it has a full-time jaw guard on there. It's not a detachable jaw guard like you do see on other helmets like the Gyro Switchblade. I think this helmet looks fantastic, and I love the fact they're not leaving any room for rider error. It's like a full-time chin guard, but all the ventilation you need for when you're actually out riding. And some of the cool stats, so it weighs 690 grams, so that's actually not far off some open-face helmets that are available on the market still. There's a 3-year warranty on it. It's got MIPS on the inside as a retention system that also helps prevent against rotational injuries. It's got 11 vents and 14 exhaust vents on the back to pull the air through the helmet. Now, I've not ridden one of these, but I do hear the ventilation is excellent on them. Now, you might have noticed the name of the show this week is focused around tech and how it might be able to improve your life on a bike. Now, this story isn't anything to do with cycling, but I do think it's something that's going to happen with cycling. Now, New Balance, the running shoe manufacturer, they've opened a pub, and you can earn your beer by the amount of miles you have been running to it. So there's a few shots right here. It's called the Runaway. This one is based in London, and the only currency they accept is running miles collected on Strava. So that's like an incentive to earn your beer in calories by clucking up the miles, I guess. I think it's a really cool system, and although it's running focused, the fact it works with Strava suggests there could also be an opportunity for this to be a cycling variant as well, so you can earn an amount of drinks on Strava. I think this is a really cool concept. Has anyone heard anything like this going on in any other forms of sports or social parts of the world? I would love to know about it. I think this is really cool, and if I ran, I would definitely be running to that pub right now. Okay, next up in news is the 8150 wheel. So these are carbon fiber wheels laced up with traditional spokes, but a little bit different to the way other brands do them. So they have 3 different spoke gauges on there to offer what they claim the most balanced set of wheels possible. And I think this is really cool because obviously having 3 different gauge spokes in there means that they're all going to have a slightly different feel as well. There could be double butted, it could be triple butted, it could be single gauge, straight gauge, all of that stuff with different thicknesses. I think it's really cool. Right, so they also have compliance built into the carbon to allow the rim to slightly egg shape under really severe compressions. Now this is a really cool idea and something that reminds me a little bit of the old Toyota disc drive and the way that that was supposed to work. So the Toyota disc drive had two sheets and they had what they call geodesic webbing, so there's Kevlar strands instead of spokes to pull the whole lot together. And the whole concept with that is that the whole rim was enabled to slightly egg shaped under certain impacts. So it basically made a hardtail back in the day feel a little bit like a Softail bike. So really cool, except they didn't quite master it. And I think that these guys could have actually be onto something here. So they use what they call a true 3-cross lacing pattern, a basket weave lacing technique, 36mm internal size, so plenty big enough for loads of support, and they're a hookless rim design as well. Also, they weigh 460 grams and they have a 3mm offset design on them to effectively, by moving the rim over slightly, it minimises the dish on the wheel. Now, in case you're not familiar with the concept of a wheel being dished, I'll put it into layman's terms here. If you had a BMX that has a single sprocket on the back, the spokes are nice and broad, they're quite widely spaced. But of course, on a bike with a cassette on the back, the spokes are like this. They basically have to dish over in order to put the rim central in basically in the back end of the bike. Now, the more you can sort of decrease the dish and have a straighter wheel, effectively, you're going to make it stronger and more reliable. So less dish is a good thing. But in order to do that, you have to have an offset rim or asymmetrical design, just like the 8150. Now, lastly in news is something for the budget conscious out there, because we do talk a lot about expensive gear. This is the complete opposite. So Microshift have got a 9-speed transmission out, and it is an absolute bargain. So it's a 1-byte based system, and for 125 bucks you get a shifter, a rear derailleur, you get the whole shebang, the cassette and the chain. I think this is astonishing value, and actually being produced in 9-speed does mean it's going to be less prone to wearing out. The chain is thicker, it's wider, everything is going to be slightly more durable for the amount of money that you are paying. Something else that's quite cool is a lot of derailleurs have roller clutches on them. This one has a ratchet and pull system on there, which is adjustable. So in theory, it should actually work better than some other designs that are far more complicated and far more expensive. And last week we checked out Adam Brayton's nuke-proof descent. If you want to see the bike build video, we're going to put a link to it in the description below this one. But in the meantime, get a load of this. It just looks banging, I think. Okay, now it's time for bike caving. It's a bit of a special one because Jonesy from GMBN is actually hanging around with Nicolas Voulet, the 10 times world downhill champion, and he's having a little snoop around his personal bike cave. And I've got to say, this is something special. Have a look at some of these shots. They're pretty random, but that's Jonesy for you, but just check out some of this stuff. So first up is a gold custom painted helmet there with the number 8 on it, and it's bearing the Alpe d'Huez graphics on there. There's various trophies and prize money checks in the background. And then there's one of his, it looks like a model of one of his rally cars, in fact. Very, very cool that is. Of course, after leaving and retiring the world of mountain biking, he went into racing RC rally stuff. So very, very cool. Next up is, I don't even know which model. I'm guessing that's a Fazua motor because I know there's something very cool going on with Fazua at the moment. Lots of casing, fully open. You can see like the pinions and the gears on the inside there. I haven't actually seen inside one of these myself, so this is super cool to see. And Nico, as we know, is the master of experimentation with bikes. He always has been years and years, even a decade ahead of many of the competition. When everyone else was just partying and having a good time, he was working on tyre pressures and geometry and all the stuff that really turned him into a fine racer. Probably one of the best racers of all time. His racecraft is just legendary. And his workshop is a good, basically kind of summarises all of that, really. Look at all the stuff that's in the background, it's insane. Trophies absolutely everywhere, littered around the place. And that looks like an 8th scale RC car on the background there too. Loads of prototype Michelin DH22 tyres, like more than I've ever seen in one place. A whole host of cool bikes and gizmos, a huge vice there. I'm loving all this setup here. His workshop looks immaculate there. Really, really cool. He's got a bench grinder. He's got like a lathe. Oh my God, he's got everything in here. This is bonkers. And look at that. There we go. So there is a messy workbench, but it looks like everything has its home. Coffee machine. There's a pegboard at the back. all sorts of lubes and stuff. He's got some WD-40, plenty of Loctite stuff up there. Loads of boxes with SRAM markings on there, so some decent stuff in there. Seeing literally bits of motors and batteries and chargers everywhere. This is eye candy. I love this stuff. And there we go. So there's his gym sort of set up there. Got a road bike and various other things going on. The weather looks nice outside too. What a nice view. And here we go. Look at some of his bikes in his own bike vault there. Right, so there's that classic LTS there. Oh my God, that thing's incredible. And then look at that S-bike with that high pivot. Man, that thing must have pedalled awful. Must have been disgusting. Inverted fork on there as well. And then there's one of his Sun Radicals down the back, and then some other bikes I can't quite see. And there's all sorts of other Lapierres. In fact, some of those look quite new. Haven't seen those before. But he's got all sorts of crazy prototypes in there. And that Sun, look at that. That thing's amazing with a twin top tube on there and a seat mast up on the back. That's super cool. And there he is at his bench there, rebuilding a couple of dampers by the looks of it. He's taking out the shim stack. Man, he's literally, he can do everything. What a man. Absolutely amazing. Super cool. There we go. So that was a pretty cool bike cave entry there. I know we've got a whole bank of really good ones lined up for next week's show, but keep your bike cave entries coming in. Take some photos of them. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what's in your bike cave. Tell us what you like to do to your bikes in there. And use our uploader service. It's at the bottom of the page there. And send them in. Now it's time for a rewind, our retro section of the show. If you've got anything retro, you want to know anything retro, perhaps where something has developed from, let us know in those comments below, or better still, if you've got something, take some photos of it and tell us a little bit about it yourselves and use our uploader and send it in. Anything retro goes. Now, there's been a lot of Cannondale talk on Instagram recently, of course, with Josh Bryceland basically riding Cannondale now. It has been mentioned a few times that Cannondale are rumoured to be exploring coming back to downhill, and that really excites me because they had a huge presence for so long. So I've had a little dig through my hard drive and dragged out some really cool old stuff. So first up, I'm going to show you the Super V 4000. Now this is it on the screen. I've got loads of images of this thing. So this particular one has Sachs grip shift on there, and the Sachs ones were actually really good. So it's a low pivot design, about 5-inch travel out back, and I think the same on the front there. There's a Moto 120 fork, so yeah, that's just about 5-inch travel there. Absolutely phenomenal looking bikes in that classic red and black with the yellow decals on the down tube there. I still think they look really good today. And there's still quite a lot of them floating around, but Cannondale, they were just so ahead of their time in those days. They put so much money into development of their bikes. Now the next one on the screen here, this is the Fulcrum. Now I've talked about this before because this is such an advanced bike. It was bonkers when it came out. Full adjustable geometry, adjustable head cup angles on there, adjustable gearing on it. Now the gearing is the really cool thing because this bike, basically where they wanted to put the pivot points, is one of the very first short multi-link bikes. In order to get it to pedal they wanted it to, and for the suspension to work the way they wanted it to, it had to have, I think it was a 38 tooth chainring on there. Except a 38 tooth chainring with the downhill courses back then when people were using like 54 tooth chainrings simply wasn't enough. So they figured out this jack shaft system to enable them to change the gear ratios without the actual main chainring being any different in size. Now that main chainring didn't actually have anything to do with the drive. It was just rotating around a bearing on an axle attached to that jack shaft. Basically the left hand side is the actual gearing that the rider was turning around. Intricate system, absolutely bonkers. And on the race bikes they actually had sort of like a housing over them. I think they had handguards as well back then too. Bonkers technology. It was totally over-engineered, but apparently it rode really well if you were strong enough to ride the thing. Must have weighed an absolute ton. And it also cost a fortune as well. Rumoured to have cost between 20 and 30,000 US dollars a piece because these were completely bespoke the way they were built. Amazing piece of engineering. So they went from making what's arguably one of the most complicated downhill bikes of all time to making a Gemini, which is one of the most simple downhill bikes. Single pivot, dead simple. Gracia rode one of those to great effect for many years. And it does make me question, what will Cannondale release if they are going to release a downhill bike? Would it be a single pivot along the lines of what they have done in the past? Would it be a high single pivot? And perhaps you've only got to look at Louis Array and the design work that he's done with GT, and he's been working with Cannondale as well. So perhaps there might be some influence from the high pivot bike, the downhill bike, of course, from GT. Perhaps it could have something along those lines. Perhaps it could be even more like that GT and have a 4-bar linkage system with a high pivot. I honestly don't know what's coming from Cannondale, but I'm really excited about it because Cannondale don't do things by halves. So there could be something very cool on the horizon shortly. And now it's time for Top Mods. This is the section all about the modifications you make to your bikes to make them better, to make them more personal, make them yours basically. Anything that could be. That could be changing some handlebar grips, it could be putting a new transmission on there. Whatever it is, whatever you've done, be proud. Take some photos and send them in to us. We love seeing your top mods. This week though, we've got something very different, and this is beyond a top mod. This is even beyond a hack or a bodge. This is a bit of a masterclass in upgrading a bike, I think. So this is from Ewan in Dumfries. Now he's got a bike called the Empire MX6 Evo. So this is a British made bike. Now they became famous when they made the AP1, which as far as I remember, it was a cast bike, the front end of it. This thing was bonkers, the technology that had gone into developing this thing. Now this is their trail bike version. Now I did actually see these pictures when they were uploaded, but I actually glanced past them and I didn't notice at first what he'd actually done to this bike until I saw the gearbox, and it dawned on me, like, you cannot buy that bike with a gearbox. So he's completely hacked off part of the frame to adapt it and put a mounting plate on there, and he's running a pinion gearbox on there. So I'm just going to read some of Ewan's words here because I'm blown away by this. This is next level wizardry. So he says, I've done all the modification myself through its outward journey to the bike it is today. It was an Empire MX6 Evo standard until 3 years ago, where I stripped the paint off, lighting the frame by removing material in certain areas that wasn't totally required, and built it back up with some RockShox pikes, Chris King hubs and carbon rims. Most of the kit on the bike has been sourced second-hand to save on the overall cost. Obviously that's smart because he's buying really good stuff. Buying it second-hand, you can work with that. It's a really good way of doing it. I then rode the bike in this condition for 2.5 years until September the 18th, where I ripped the mech off the back of the bike on the trail for the second time. Now this was the 5th hanger I'd put on the bike, and I'm sure the clutch mech getting pulled by the chain on the single pivot suspension design has something to do with weakening of the hangers. So obviously he's getting really annoyed by hangers and rear derailleurs at this point. So this was the last time it would happen, as I decided to convert the bike to run a pinion gearbox. At the same time, I CNC engraved the frame with my name and some other features. It's the best modification I've made to this bike. Dude, I'm not surprised. I think that is phenomenal what you've done to this thing. The weight distribution is incredible and actually makes the bike feel lighter, even though it's slightly heavier with the gearbox. Now this is something, the whole sprung unsprung thing we always talk about. If you can make the front and back of your bikes light, i.e. where your wheels are, your suspension is going to work fantastically. And by adding the weight that was there and putting it on the main frame, kind of like an e-bike really, the suspension handling improves, the weight of the bike feels better, everything is more settled and more grounded. So yeah, I bet your bike does feel absolutely amazing. I met some of your crew, Blake and Tom, at Fort William last year, and they were great to talk to, but I didn't see the bike at the time. Please get in touch if you'd like to know any more about the bike. Ewan, I'll be in touch 100%. I think what you've done is incredible. I'd love to know a little bit more about your process and how you actually had the courage to do this. For all you other viewers out there, please don't be put off by this level of intricacy. Like, this is phenomenal, but it honestly doesn't matter. Whatever you do to your bikes, we love it. And I know that you lot love it as well, because I hear how you talk about it in the comments and I see this stuff all over the internet. So please continue to make your bikes personal, make your bikes your own, and send us some pictures. Now, Tech of the Week this week is a little bit different. So I've actually kind of borrowed this, to be honest, from GCN and GCN Tech. So I've heard everyone talking about digital tech and how it can improve your riding. And it made me think, like, can it actually improve your riding with mountain biking? And you know what? The more I think about it, the more I think it is the way the future's going, and it genuinely can. Now, I was quite sort of against digital tech getting in the way of my riding, but I'm actually starting to change my opinions about this stuff. And actually, SRAM Access and the comments from you guys about it really made me start thinking about this. Now, all right, I get it, it's insanely expensive and it's out of everyone's reach, but if you just look at the principle of what it is, it communicates with itself. You know, it learns what your shifting patterns are. It's going to be able to tell you what size chain rings to use. And you think about the other stuff, the other products that SRAM have already got on the market. You know, they've got their shock whiz, their tyre whiz, there's all sorts of other stuff. So I can imagine in the future, there's going to be a way that they're all going to be able to communicate together, and you're actually going to get a better riding experience because the tech is going to be able to understand what you're all about. obviously you have to accept this and let it do this. Now you could just not bother accepting tech and just carry on quite happily and still enjoy mountain biking, no problem. But I do think there's an element of tech that we should be embracing. Now we've also seen some cool stuff from exposure lights with their accelerometers in the lights. So they're using digital tech inside the lights there. So the light can work out how fast you're going and it will put it up to full beam. And when you're going slower to conserve battery, it dips it down. That stuff's fantastic. And they're now working with an exclusive app. And on the app, you can program in your preferred settings, how long you want the light to last for, maximum burn time on full power, all that sort of stuff is totally user serviceable and changeable just by using the app. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Now, generally, I love technology. I work on laptops, we use cloud-based software. I'm really into my photography, I use digital cameras. I use software from Adobe and companies like that. It involves everything communicating with each other. Now I think this stuff is fantastic. And of course, I've also been in the DJing thing. So I'm using software for that. I use Ableton Live for making edits of tunes. I use Tractor and Serato software. This is all tech. And I'm thinking, why am I not doing this in mountain biking too? Now, Neil's had a Garmin smartwatch for some time now, a few years, I guess. You know what Neil's like? He's pretty athletic. He's always running or on a road bike or mountain biking or rower, whatever. So he swears by this as part of the way he trains, and it communicates with a Garmin device he uses on some of his bikes, and I guess some he only uses the watch. Now, he's battered on about this for long enough that I've got involved with it now. I got rid of that Oakley watch that everyone always asks about, and I've got myself watch. What I still think looks like a pretty good solid watch, but actually it's pretty tech and there's a lot of stuff in this, but I'm only just getting started with this stuff now. Now I actually think you can use tech like this to improve your mountain biking. Now the reason I say that, you can have computers like these Garmin's and you can use it just to monitor your ride, to check your progress, but you can also use them for lots of other cool things. You can discover new places to ride. They work with all sorts of different software. Whether you're a Strava freak or you like the newest stuff like Komoot, there are a whole number of amazing bits of software out there that can all analyze the way you ride and help you get more out of your riding. That's got to be a good thing. I'm sure there's going to be some really cool ways that we're going to be able to use this sort of stuff in the future. Now, I quite like the idea of having a head-up display on the bike that tells me everything that I want to see. As they are, you can customize them, but imagine having e-bike stuff built onto here. Imagine seeing what gear you're in, all of that sort of stuff, but actually it's learning about you at the same time. Plus, it's a navigational aid, it's a safety aid. They can tell you if you've had an accident, they can send an SOS message by communicating from the device to your mobile phone, and it can ring your SOS contact that you input. There's so many cool features out there that I do think can be really, really useful for mountain bikers. But what I want to know from you guys, because this genuinely is all new stuff for me, I'm only just starting to get involved with this, is who uses Strava out there? Do you use Strava? Do you use Komoot? Do you use Endomondo? Do you use any of these programs at all? Do you have a Garmin? Do you have a heart rate monitor? Do you have power meters? What tech do you use for mountain biking? I really, really want to know, because I think I need to do some serious homework and I need your help to do it, because we're going to make some really, really cool stuff using tech. I want to know what you want to see. Let us know in those comments below. Does tech improve mountain biking for you? And there we go, there's the end of this week's GMBN Tech Show. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, especially the tech stuff, because honestly, this stuff is all new for me. So you guys might like learning from me each week and learning from what we do here on the channel, but this time I really need your help. So please get involved in those comments and let us know everything you want to know, and let us know what you know about tech related mountain bike tech. For another couple of cool videos, click down here on the essentials on lubing a chain. Now, don't take this the wrong way. This is everything. This is education. This is telling you everything about the chain, not just how to lube it. It's about looking after it and knowledge. And click down here if you want to commute yourself into a better rider. This is using your daily grind and turning it into a bit of a thrashing session for good old fun. As always, don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you love GMBN Tech. And of course, please click, share and subscribe.